Okay, hello, welcome to Evening Morning Guitars. Let's just turn those distortions off. It is the morning because we are demoing a delay, and that means that if you want to test the auto oscillation you have to run it through an amp, which means I can't play it at 2 o'clock in the morning, at night, or any of the other options of free time that I've got. So yeah, today we are going to be looking at the Donner Yellow Fall delay. It's a very cheap analog delay. I think it's about $25–30, something like that. Astoundingly cheap for an analog delay unit, especially one in a micro enclosure, which if you've got a busy pedal board already, means you can push it somewhere in there in order to bulk out, the available sounds that you've got on there. Another thing it's very useful for is stacking, so where you stack one delay into another to get a bigger sound. Some people are fans of that, some people aren't. If you're kind of in the kind of ambient music territory, I suppose, you're more likely to encounter that. Or stacking with reverb, again, is another good trick to make delays sound really huge. And the other thing is, like, nothing else, at that price point, it's about as accessible as a guitar effect pedal gets. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do for a living, you can probably find £20, $30 at the end of the month, hopefully, to pick up something like this and experiment with. And that's really the thing, isn't it? If you get a pedal that inspires you to write a new song or write a new part for something, then it was probably worth it. So because the force is strong in my family, I will now force the pedal into my hand. There we are. So this is the Yellow Fall pedal. As you can see, it's got three kind of little switches on it. One of them is time, the big one. One of them is echo, which is sort of like mix, and the other one is feedback, which is the number of repeats, right? It's very simple. If you've ever seen one of the old Boss DM2s, long story, used to have one, don't anymore. If you can afford one, get one, they're amazing. Anyway, it's basically the same controls as that, and the functionality is very similar too. Yeah. Like any delay pedal, it's sort of what you make of it. You can do everything from like dotted 8 notes and all that fancy stuff to just regular kind of slap back and really short delay times, as I was showing earlier. So, okay, our first setting is echo at about 3 o'clock. You love the way I always have to think about it. Feedback's about 1 o'clock, and time is straight at 12 o'clock. So this is quite a... So you can tell the mix between clean and wet is actually quite heavily in the wet section. The echo is quite far round, and the time is moderately long. It's not the shortest, it's not the longest. The feedback is clearly going on for a little while. So that's kind of a basic sort of time setting. So these are echo and feedback now back at about 3 o'clock. So very short, a very small number of echoes, very low in the mix compared to the dry signal. And again, similar sort of riff. You can kind of hear it's more of like a coloration, it's not so in your face. If you increase the feedback on that setting, you hear it's still very much in the background, so you can almost use it kind of like... It's kind of like a coloration to add extra texture to chords or something, you can... Barely tell it's there until you hear the trails, but it's, compared to it without, it's a lot thicker guitar sound. So this is now rolled all the way around the feedback, so it's one delay, but with the echo most of the way around, so it's a very wet delay sound. That's really cool. You know, personally I really dig that as an effect. I use it quite a lot, just to sort of double up things you're playing, or even if you're doing like very simple chords, like. If you've got something you want to bring out, the trails mean that even if you've got something quite busy going on, you can do things like pull out melody from chords using tapping and things like that. What we're going to do here is just play around with the time. So this is pretty much, this is almost how I had it set up when we first started. So just a reminder of what this sounds like with the time at 12 o'clock. Cool, right? So let's increase the delay time. And you can see actually that's now all the way around. That's right down at 4 or 5 o'clock as far as it goes. And it's not hugely different, which is what I was talking about with the delay times available to you. It's a cool sound. I mean, you can tell that like it sort of favours that type of guitar playing a bit more the further you move around. So we're going to put it in the 9 o'clock position now. So it's a very short delay. You see it? And it's not. What's interesting about this, if you hear this side by side with a digital delay with a very short, this is kind of like a slapback, you know, kind of like a country. As you can tell, I just don't fucking know anything about country, but I know enough from hearing records that are around the house and old stuff, that what the country kind of guitar sound is. And actually, to be fair as well, with this particular guitar on the back pickup, it's probably not too far from that. Hence those Torso today. So yeah, you can get that sound, but unlike say if you hear a digital delay doing this, it's obviously a lot more pristine. And there is something a little bit satisfying about those kind of short delay times with an analog delay unit. Anyway, so this is. That's what it's like at 9 o'clock, and let's roll it all the way back. You hear that? It's almost now more of a chorus effect than a delay effect. And if you use a bit of distortion with that, I'm using the terminal fuzz that I've done a short video on elsewhere. So yeah, you can hear what it's doing there, that kind of squelchy, splatty kind of sound. It's pretty neat. So the final other thing to show you about this delay pedal is, can it auto oscillate? Well, let's find out. Auto oscillation is when you push the feedback all the way around. And do that. And the answer is yes, it can. So if you wanted a very cheap pedal to use for auto oscillation effects, you can also do that. So anyway, that's the Donner Yellowfall. It's a very cheap pedal. It's a lot of fun. I strongly recommend, if you've got a few dollars, a few pounds lying around, you pick one up, or indeed any of the micro pedal clones. That I imagine they're pretty much all the same, whether it's Donner or Moore or Moyer, however you pronounce it. Or indeed, I've actually got a very cheap Behringer digital delay that I will be doing a video on at some point as well, which I find useful for different reasons. So this has been Evening Morning Guitars. Thank you for watching. If you like this, do subscribe, and there'll be more of this sort of more pedal reviews. And if there's anything to come, and if there's anything that you particularly want to know about this, then obviously you put it in the comments. If there's anything you want to see in particular that I might have knocking around, then do ask, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.